tākiri mai ana te ata, ke rongo o nā kau mā rohi rohi, ko rehi ana te mana kaupapa, ka awatea, tihe mauri ora. E mihi ana, kia koutou te ria pōhiri I tēnei rā, ka ranga mai, mihi mai, whakatau mai, e mihi ana ki te honga mā te haere atu rā. Kia tātou te honga ora, tēnā tātou. Kia whakamana wātia ngā mana o enei whenua e tu ahuru nei. Tēnei au o tēra mātou te kāwanatanga e mihi ana ki te kaupapa o te wā, te whakatohia, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora tātou. Good afternoon, everybody. Can I begin by acknowledging Kingi Tūheitia, tēnā koe, the many distinguished guests, elders, leaders, rangatira. Can I acknowledge my parliamentary colleague, Rawiri Waititi, and can I also acknowledge Human Rights Commissioner Meng Foon. It's an honour for me as Minister of Treaty of Waitangi negotiations to be here today for this special occasion. It is a special occasion. I listened carefully to the kōrero this morning. I heard the mamai and the tangi that are still with us. I acknowledge that. And I know from the Crown's point of view, we still have much to do to restore the Crown's mana and our relationship. I'm pleased to be here today at Te Papatakaro o Whitikau in Te Whakatohia for this event. Today, the Crown and Whakatohia will sign your deed of settlement and I will deliver the Crown apology. I want to acknowledge those who are no longer with us, those who helped pave the pathway through their contributions to bring Whakatohia here today. I know they will be in your thoughts and their presence will be felt here today. I want to acknowledge the recent passing of Louis Rapihana, who contributed greatly to the Opotiki community in his all too short life. And Josie Mortensen, who was active in negotiations and loved by the people of Opotiki, who passed shortly before we initialed the deed in 2021. Their memory and legacies remain in our thoughts today as we sign this deed, Moi Mai Rā. Reaching this day would not have been possible without the efforts of many others over many years, all of whom who worked incredibly hard to represent Te Whakatohia values and aspirations. In that respect, I want to acknowledge Graham Restera and Robert Edwards for your leadership and your commitment to Whakatohia. You brought diplomacy and vision to the many challenges of these negotiations to build a settlement that enhances the mana whenua, mana moana and mana tangata of Whakatohia. The members of the Whakatohia Pre-Settlement Claims Trust, who have well represented your constituencies within Whakatohia, and the negotiators, Maui Hudson and Jason Poe, and their support team led by Arihia Tuoro and Gina Smith, who have shown great tenacity to get us here today. For the next phase of Whakatohia's history, I also acknowledge Vaughan Payne and the other establishment trustees who will support Whakatohia through to the election of Te Tawharau o Te Whakatohia's trustees and into the future. On the Crown side, I thank my ministerial colleagues and their officials who have been part of these negotiations. I acknowledge the continued work of my officials at Te Arawhiti to support the aspirations of Whakatohia. I acknowledge the many other government departments who are here, the Department of Conservation, Ministry of Primary Industries and the Fisheries Division, who have all made up the Crown side of assisting to support getting to this point today. I also want to acknowledge the work of my predecessor, the Honourable Christopher Finlayson, and my Chief Crown Negotiator, Glenn Webber. I want to acknowledge the Opotiki District Council for their contributions to the settlement and their commitment to a better partnership with Te Whakatōhea. Many arrangements included in this settlement would not have been possible without your support. Most importantly, I acknowledge Te Whakatōhea. You are a determined people who have never shied away from expressing your views on the best way forward. I respect the commitment of Whakatōhea to seeking justice for your people and acknowledge the decision to move forward by ratifying this deed. I acknowledge that not all are ready for this next step, and there remains vocal opposition. It's my hope that those who oppose and those who are in favour might find a way to work through these challenges together to make the most of this settlement. 183 years ago to this day, Whakatōhea Rangatira signed Te Tiriti o Waitangi here in Opotiki in the belief it promised an age of continued prosperity and protection by the Crown. The Crown did not live up to the promises of the treaty and instead committed unconscionable acts which deprived your people of lands, resources and culture and took lives of your tipuna. The consequences of these breaches of Te Tiriti have been devastating for Whakatōhea. The Crown has deprived Whakatōhea of your mātauranga, severed connections with ancestral whenua, and undermined the rangatiratanga of your people. Today we sign a new agreement between Whakatōhea and the Crown to signal a renewed relationship, a positive relationship, one of partnership and honour. This agreement acknowledges the past and provides a foundation for prosperity for the future for the people of Whakatōhea. Today has been decades in the making. It's a day Whakatōhea has fought for since the first petitions for redress were made to the Crown in 1914. It's a day many people here have worked towards for the past 30 years. The deed we sign today has been developed with the past as a foundation, but with your future at the centre. Through this settlement, Te Whakatōhea will receive cultural, commercial and financial redress totalling more than $100 million. The package has been developed to recognise the strong spiritual and ancestral connection Te Whakatōhea has to the whenua and moana. Through cultural redress, 33 sites of significance will be transferred, including the very whenua we stand on today, Te Papatakoro o Whitikau. I know this whenua is of great importance to Te Whakatōhea, and it's only right that it be returned to you. To recognise your connection with the moana, the deed will also provide for the reservation of 5,000 hectares of coastal marine area in which only Whakatōhea can apply for permits for aquaculture activities. This redress, which is a first in treaty settlements, forms part of the aquaculture strategy Whakatōhea embarked on more than 20 years ago, which is already showing benefits for Whakatōhea and Opotiki. While we celebrate reaching this important day, we must also acknowledge the history that has brought us here. Shortly, I will deliver the Crown apology, but before I do, I want to make some acknowledgements. Through this deed, the Crown acknowledges and apologises for its breaches of Te Tiriti. The Crown acknowledges the invasion of your whenua, the deaths of your tipuna, the destruction of your kāinga, crops and livestock, and the devastation of your economy. The Crown acknowledges its actions in its invasion showed reckless disregard for your lands, your people, and their lives. The Crown acknowledges its role in the stigmatisation of moko moko and the burden this has placed on his descendants. I acknowledge the kōrero of Te Whānau moko moko this morning, and I confirm that I remain committed to a tangible tribute to your tipuna. The Crown acknowledges it damaged relationships within Whakatohia when it forced Hapu to move on to the Ōpape Native Reserve. The Crown caused great distress and suffering when it unfairly labelled you rebels and confiscated your lands, taonga and other resources, which significantly affected the mana and Māori of Whakatohia. The Crown's breaches of the treaty continued after its raupatu, and the acknowledgements speak of a series of actions and omissions which rendered Whakatohia virtually landless, separated from your maunga, awa and traditional sites. The Crown acknowledges it left Whakatohia impoverished, spiritually bereft and diminished of your taonga, including Te Reo Māori. Finally, the Crown acknowledges the resilience of Whakatohia in the face of these many injustices you have endured. I now make the following apology to the people of Te Whakatohia on behalf of the Crown. When Whakatohia Rangatira signed Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, they did so in a spirit of trust and cooperation with a view to the benefits treaty partnership could bring to their people. The Crown betrayed that trust by waging war and confiscating Whakatohia land in a raupatu for which the Crown alone is responsible. The Crown's actions caused significant loss of life, devastated Whakatohia communities, created conflict between Whakatohia, Hapu and whānau, and led to the loss of mātauranga Whakatohia, which is still felt today. The Crown apologises to the rangatira who died at its hands. The Crown apologises to ngā uri o Te Whakatohia who have lived with economic, cultural and spiritual loss and deprivation as a result of the Crown's actions. The Crown has failed to uphold its obligations under Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, and brought dishonour upon itself for its breaches of Te Tiriti o Waitangi and for the pain it has caused Whakatohia through its acts and omissions. The Crown is deeply sorry. The Crown pays tribute to the resilience of ngā uri o Te Whakatohia who have striven for justice and fought to retain and rebuild Whakatohiatanga over generations. Through this settlement, the Crown hopes to honour the promise of partnership it made with Whakatohia in 1840. Let us look forward to a future of prosperity for the people of Whakatohia and move towards it together in a spirit of good faith, partnership and respect for Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi. As a gift to Te Whakatohia, I now present you with the framed Crown apology, which is now presented over here. While no settlement can ever fully compensate for the injustices Te Whakatoria has experienced through the Crown's breaches of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, it is my sincere hope that through this renewed relationship, the Crown can actively support a more prosperous future for Whakatohea, as was the vision of your tipuna when they signed the treaty. Ka rangaranga te muri, ka rangaranga te mua, ngā anga rau nā tohia rau. Thank you again for welcoming me and the Crown Party here today and for your generous hospitality. I look forward to hosting you all in Parliament to support your settlement through the House. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, huri noa mauri ora ki a tātou katoa. Kia ora tātou katoa.